Well, right now we are coming here to discuss the Constitution. Don't forget that the Patriots, led by Chief Anyoku, met with the president not too long ago and made that call for a new constitution for the country. And it's an ongoing conversation. It's something that so many people have been talking about for quite a while. You would recall it's been a growing call for the adoption of a new constitution, which many people believe will reflect widespread concerns about the current constitution, the 1999 constitution, which has had at least 5 alterations. And many Nigerians view it as flawed and inadequate for addressing the country's complex socio-political and socio-economic challenges. And quite a number of things. The basis of which is the fact that it was a constitution from military origins, which doesn't totally take into considerations all of the concerns that Nigeria as a country has to deal with. This morning in the studio we have Fafa Dan-Princewill with us. He is a member of the advocacy committee of the Patriots who have been calling for that new constitution. He's right here with us. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, as we said, this call for a new constitution has been on for so long. Perhaps there is a need to understand why. Here is the reason for the question. Many people believe that it's not a problem of the Constitution, but the operators of the Constitution. The current Constitution that we have, imperfect as it is being obeyed in breach. So what will be different if we had a new Constitution?
I think it's actually one of the misunderstandings about the role or the meaning of a constitution in it. A lot of Nigerians believe that you can separate operators from the constitution. I think that is a misunderstanding. The operators reflect the constitution. It is the constitution that produces the operators. In the First Republic, we had a different constitution. So it produced different types of people to be the operators. We had regional system, for example. In fact, in the North, their political party was the Northern People's Congress. Southerners were not admitted into because they were not looking for numbers of that. They wanted the seats, northern seats, because that's the constitution, what the constitution said. So if they didn't need to go to other places to rig election, because number of seats was what determined who would have political power. In the US, for example, it's electoral college, which means it is not the popular vote. You want to win the number of states, that is the electoral votes of the states. And some of the states share their electoral votes to the contestants in a proportion in which they performed in the state. Some give winner take all. That is, if you win Texas, they give you all their electoral votes. So the rules matter. The operatives are reflections of the Constitution. They are not separate things. You cannot have bad operators and say you have a good constitution. You cannot have a good constitution and have bad operators. It's not possible. It is the way the Constitution says people should emerge to be operators that determines what the operators look like.
So it is not a problem of it's more of the qualification of, or how the quality of people that the law permits to get into the system. That's what you're saying.
That is one aspect,
okay,
but only one small aspect. See, the Nigerian Constitution has rules. It has the established INEC. It established the role of the judiciary. It established political parties. You cannot run for election effectively in Nigeria except you join a political party. That alone is a limitation to a lot of people who might want to contest. Okay? You cannot contest election in Nigeria the way it is set up without having money. Because the Constitution makes rules that either you have the money or somebody who has the money presents you. So all those factors commercialize the process and the products. So for everyone you see who is an operative in the system, either the person has money or somebody who has money has supported him. That's why the godfatherism is an issue. If, like in the UK, is a small constituency to go to parliament, is not heavily monetized. Okay? So each system is the constitution that determines the players.
How is the 1999 constitution different from the 1963 and the 1979 constitution? Here is why I'm asking the question.
Very good question.
Because in the First Republic, in fact, as far back as, as recent as maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, someone was showing me the membership card of a father.
Yes.
That I'm a financial member of this political party. That's for the First Republic. Even in the Second Republic, someone showed the membership card for the UPN.
Yes.
That I'm a financial member of this political party, so no one can roughshod me. But we didn't have the political godfathers of those days because everyone who was a card-carrying member was a financial member.
Yes.
But that's not a product of a constitution, is it?
It is. You see, in the First Republic, you finance, the political parties were not financed. They were not given money by anybody. So the political party was financed by its membership. Today, the reason why you have many 38 or whatever number of political parties is that government funds you according to some rule or the other.
Is there a constitutional provision for that?
There is a constitutional gap. You see, sometimes with the way the law works, it's either there is a law that says you should do this, or there is the absence of a law that allows you to use your discretion to do it. There are two things. You see, if you say, as it was the case in the First Republic, you cannot fund a political party with money from X, Y, Z, this, it means you cannot do it. You understand what I mean? But you are also allowed to form the party, to be the chairman, to be anything you want to be. You can be presidential candidate. You can also be chairman of the party in the First Republic. But you look for the money that you are going to. So if people don't believe in you, they are not going to put their hard-earned cash into, which meant that the political parties were very different in nature from the 1979 Constitution political parties. And both 63 and 79, the political parties were very different from the current political parties we have. The current political parties we have are actually not political parties. Everybody has said it. People have said it's a vote catching machine or whatever things. Because the chairman can be there, even when 90% of the party doesn't want him to be there. The chairman, you can be a chairman of a political party in Nigeria without having once been elected to so serve. We have all sorts of things going on, and it reflects the way things happen now.
Now, still on that comparison, if you were to select, if you had the authority to choose either of those two constitutions, the 63 Constitution or the 79 Constitution, what distinguishes them from the current one that we have, and which one of them would you say, why don't we try this again? No.
See, I don't think you should pick one constitution, over the other as such, because there are aspects that were good in 63. Some aspects were bad. There were aspects that were good in 79. Some aspects were bad. You see, what it is that the 1999 Constitution reflects our experiences in that 63 and 79. So it solved some problems, and it complicated some others. It is not, in some aspects, it's an improvement. In some aspects, it's horrible. So what people are complaining about is that those horrible aspects were the aspects that people, without the mandate of a broad discussion or support, were able to smuggle into the Constitution. That's the issue. See, if the current Constitution was working, nobody would bother about it. So the issue is not that the military brought it. Many people make that mistake. The issue is not that it matters. The issue is not that everyone didn't participate in doing that. It matters, but that's really not the issue. The main issue is that it is not working. There's no doubt about that. And if it is not working, you should look at it. Constitution matters. Any time you have any problem, any country, you must look at your country. America is looking at its constitution again because they think, some people think they've deviated from the spirit of it because special interests have brought single issues to overbear on the system.
That constitution is more than 200 years old.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the current constitution we're using now is the one that has lasted any democratic experience the longest.
Yes.
The 63 constitution lasted maybe about 3 years.
Yes.
79 constitution, maybe about 3-4 years.
Yes.
The 1990 constitution, I think that one lasted just for the length of the Third Republic.
Yeah.
Which was also about, it didn't really fully take off.
Yeah.
But this 1999, imperfect 1999 constitution that we have has lasted us 25 years.
Yes.
What do you think is responsible for that?
Very simple answer. The current constitution, or virtually, how would I put it? Perhaps it was a reaction to the military interventions. Because when you say that the constitutions failed, they all failed by military intervention. So the 1999 constitution was...
But the 1963 constitution didn't fail by military intervention.
It did. January coup.
Well, there are those who said
coup.
that the intention was not for the military to take over then. It was actually because the civilians said, no, we can't handle this, that the military
Yeah,
should take over.
the coup failed. But the intervention was sufficient to pull down the system. That's what happened in January. A counter coup also then came. So it was coups that caused the truncation of those things. The reason why there is a longer period now is because the Obasanjo government, when it came in, being a former military man himself, took measures to make coups difficult to be done. First of all, himself and General T.Y. Danjuma, who was the Minister of Defense, brought rules and regulations that you can even say as virtually constitutional to remove all those who had been involved in politics. All military officers, no matter your rank, was swept out of the army. So the army lost its eyes and brains politically. So it has not been able, there are no politicians in the army anymore. Okay? So the only reason why we have that was long tenure now is because of the actions of President Obasanjo and T.Y. Danjuma to make the army not find it easy to take over government. That's the reason. Okay? And it has nothing to do with how well the system is functioning. In fact, if it was in 63 or 79, I would have had 15 coups by now because the issues that used to bring coups in Nigeria before, 10 times that happened virtually all the time now. So the only reason why we don't have that is that rules and regulations, policies were brought in to make coups difficult.
But then, even in the wake of this, in the twilight of the Abdulsalami Abubakar government, the civil society activists of the day, it would seem like the pressure on the military government lasted some, 6 years? Between 1993, when the June 12 election was annulled, and 1999, when the military had to hand over.
Yes.
It would seem there was that continuous pressure from civil society organizations. We also understand, I mean, one of them, Ebonlu Adeborua, spoke with us once and said, look, we were told, we were advised not to be a part of it. We were champions of the civil society of the day that pushed the military out, but we were advised not to go into politics. Now, in fact, he said on TV, right on this station, that look, it wasn't a good decision for them, because a good number of them, if they had gotten into the system, they probably would have been able to create structures that would have held us better than it did now. So in that light, how will a new constitution attract a completely different set of people into our politics? How will a new constitution curtail the corrupt tendencies of the average politician, as many people believe them to be? How will a new constitution encourage youth participation in politics?
You see, every individual looks at the various systems and the various opportunities available to them and then makes a decision. See, if you feel that the banking sector, for example, there was a time when everyone in Nigeria, every young kid wanted to be a banker. You know, there was a time when they wanted to join the army. There was a time when it depends on what is going on. See, if the politics attracts thugs, you will have politicians who are thugs. If the politics if you think you will do well as a thug in politics, then you go there. If there is no room for you, you would refrain. If the situation presents that professionals have opportunity to join politics, they will. If you don't have money now in Nigerian politics, you think twice, except you look for. But if you have a lot of money, even when you are not interested, people will be calling you to get involved. So what the thing is that is the constitution and the atmosphere, the spirit it puts into play, that determines who is attracted to politics. If there's no money to be made, a lot of people would not, who are there now, would not be attracted.
You think a new constitution will de-emphasize that?
See, the reason why we have the economic problems we have and the political issues we have is from the Constitution. The Constitution says that all monies, all production of value, of significant value from any part of Nigeria should be brought to the table in Aso Rock. And then from Aso Rock, they will share it to the state governors. And then the state governors will spend it in their states. That is the law we have. So all funds are collated and collected and put at the center, then disbursed. If the system, like the 63 Constitution, for example, is that from where the money is, you hold it, but you pay a percentage to the federal government. There is no money at the center that is unaccounted for. You see, right now, the most opaque company in Nigeria is NNPC. Nobody knows exactly, sometimes we hear funny things about 1 year, no remittance under the last regime, we were told. Nobody knows what goes on there. And that's where all the money seems to be. The customs, all the centers of money are put together. And then from there, given to the governors, who in turn share it down. So that system in itself is corruptive. That system enables lack of accountability.
You already raised an issue by talking about a fundamental one at that, about state governors.
Yes.
There are those who believe that, look, these guys also collect money from the federal government. On the average now, every month they share, right above 1 trillion naira every month among all federal, state, and local government administrations in the state, in the country. So what do we do with that one? They get money. And people are still saying, okay, they don't get enough money. But just as you said, they share it at their own whim.
Yes.
Sometimes there are those who believe sometimes they just put it in their pockets. Yes. And no one is asking them questions. So how will the Constitution address the corrupt tendencies of individuals, such as governors?
See, the way money flows. See, why? It's the same Nigerians, but you don't hear the same kind of stories in the banks, for example, because the bank money is monitored. There are huge funds in the banks, but they're not there just for the taking. It's not easy to do. And even when you defraud, they immediately know that something has happened because there's accountability. See, with the state government, when the money comes in, there is no accountability.
But the money still goes through the banks.
No,
they don't get that. They don't get it with
the bank is not authorized to monitor what the governor does with it. Okay. The law does not allow the. See, if, for example,
how about the EFCC?
See, these are all institutions to make better a fundamentally flawed constitution. You see, the constitution is flawed. EFCC, for example, is looking after money already stolen. EFCC doesn't stop anybody from stealing. It is after you've stolen the money that they look for you. And we know that once the money is stolen, there's a limit to what EFCC can do, because you go to court, like they will tell you, and then the judiciary comes in, with its own problems. So those corrective institutions are ineffective. Not necessarily because of the personnel as such. See, in Nigeria, we want to blame individuals for everything. If something goes wrong, we say it's the president, it's the governor. It's not a personal blame. It's a systemic problem. That's why we are talking about the constitution.
How will we carry on younger generation? And it's fundamental because they've been hearing it forever. The young shall grow. We are the leaders of tomorrow, but it will seem like they're not even allowed to take any position. So, and I know, everyone knows, you also would corroborate that. Most of the people who called for independence were in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. But today, those in their 20s and 30s hardly have a seat at the door, much less a seat at the table. So how do we, in this new call for a new constitution, carry the younger generation along?
See, I was 26 when I was called in to serve as a special assistant, to the Senate president in the Shagari government, okay? And I also served as special assistant to the Minister of Finance. And then later, I was an executive assistant, to Chief Umaru Diko on the re-election campaign of the president. And you can see the trajectory. I came in as a professional, as a lawyer, to be a legal assistant to the Senate president on legal issues. But too soon it was clear to me that the issues were not legal as such. The constitution was flawed. Special assistant to the finance minister, I could see how the economy worked. I could, Then I now worked on the executive as an executive assistant on the campaign thing. So I saw the politics, the parties, the issues of at the time. So what I'm saying is that from these perspectives that I've seen, see, the kind of discussions we had at the time are not the type they're having now. I recall, for example, the NPN was the power in government, but they were very concerned about losing elections. They were I could see it, and they knew it was a competition, okay? Today, no, that's not how people think. It's not about the elections. See, in my state, Rivers State, we've seen it played over and over again. We watched one government after the other. From Rufus George, I was old enough, and participated. Governor Dili, Amechi, Wike. The issues are systemic. They are not individuals. They are not the persons. And they are systemic because Rivers State politics is intricately tied with national politics because there are free funds in Rivers State. So the problems Rivers State has, Oyo State doesn't have it, Sokoto doesn't have it, even Lagos doesn't have it. It's a peculiar, Bayelsa doesn't have it. It's a peculiar problem.
So how is that likely to affect the issues
constitution
between Governor Wike, former Governor Wike and Governor Fubara?
How would that...
the issue that you raised now?
No, because all those who are seriously interested in a presidential system have vested interest in the conflict. That's the problem.
So it's not ending anytime soon?
It's not every state that the president of the country would directly interfere. If governor is fighting his godson, it's because they are interested. The parties, all the parties are interested.
It sounds like
so it's a constitutional issue.
Okay, well, it's like you're getting opening another vista altogether.
It's a constitutional issue.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Certainly. Well, I think this is just an ongoing conversation, really.
Yes.
I'm still very much interested in exploring further the angle of the young people, but we're totally out of time right now. We have to thank you and expect that we'll be able to drag you in one more time.
Okay.
Thanks for this one.
Thank you very much.
Dan-Princewill, Member Advocacy Committee of the Patriots. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for being with us this morning.
Thank you very much.
So, well, Chamberlain and Kayla, I guess this is where we draw the curtain before the news and the hour. I'm Ayo Makinde. Do have a wonderful rest of your day.
All right, well, yes, indeed. We do thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain. Goodbye.
Have a great day ahead. I'm Kayla Magwa.